Today on the Working Tools podcast, we will continue our discussion of aprons.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools podcast, we have our usual complement of hosts. We have Worshipful Brother Stephen Chung, who's in Prince Charles Lodge number 153 in Kelowna, British Columbia. Worshipful Brother Jarrod Dunham in Penticton Lodge number 147 in Penticton, British Columbia. I'm Very Worshipful Matthew Appel, and I'm a member of Mill Creek Lodge number 243 in Mount Lake Terrace, Washington. And we have Very Worshipful Brother David Colbeth, who's in King Solomon Lodge number 60 in Auburn, Washington. And we're going to pick up where we left off. Again, there will be a bunch of article links in the show notes on the various things we've looked at about aprons lately. But when we left off, I was asking what our Canadian brothers did about old aprons, and they were saying that a lot of times for old, like past masters aprons, they'll pass them on to a new brother if the lodge comes back into them after a brother passes away. And I think that would be actually a great tradition, but it is not one that currently our lodge follows or any other one I know. Usually what we end up doing is they sit in a closet somewhere for a while. And apparently, eventually, some of them make their way onto like eBay and you can find them for sale, which is how one of our Grand Masters found some past Grand Master aprons for sale on eBay. And he decided that this was not the way things ought to go. And so he actually... we passed a few years ago a resolution. I think it was a whole separate resolution, wasn't it? Establishing a Masonic Apron memorial. So now we have actually literally a memorial that's in a graveyard where you bring the aprons from brothers who have passed away, and they have a little ceremony they do, and they inter them in the memorial, which I think is kind of cool, frankly.
I don't think up here we would ever see a past Grand Master's apron on eBay, because usually the lodge, when they have a past Grand Master pass away, they frame his collar and apron and everything and put it up in the lodge hall.
I agree. Yeah, usually they are treated more reverently than that, but I guess once in a while, not so much.
Yeah. But it's tradition up here to just recycle, because I know that my past master's apron is an old past master's apron that was passed down to me, because, God help me if I ever got a new one.
It's because they love you, Jarrod.
Could they love me less and just buy me a new one, please?
I think we've had this conversation, but you're the middle child. You're the middle Mason.
I'm the middle Mason, yes. My dad gave me his. They gave me my old whatever. But but it is a problem. I know that when we sold our lodge hall, when Headley sold their lodge hall, that was an issue. Was we went into the closet, sort of go through the stuff, and what's all this? And there was just a stack of old aprons from past members that had passed, because we had been around for over 100 years. So
just like random, like white aprons and master's aprons and all kinds of things.
Not white aprons. They were past. Most of them were past master aprons in their cases, because when someone passes away, the apron, if they don't have a son or anyone in their family that's going through lodge, they'll just return it back to the lodge to be used again. And if you've been around long enough, you only have one past master every year. Eventually, you're going to have more aprons than you have past masters.
Yeah, we have never mind. Tomorrow is Memorial Day as we record this, and tomorrow I think is actually the day they're going to do the interring of the.
I was just going to say that.
In the woods, isn't it?
I don't know about the one that Matt was talking about. The new one is down in Grand Mound, Washington, very close to where one of the original four lodges that formed the Grand Lodge of Washington is located, and it's just across the street from where the Grand Mound Memorial is. And I don't know if it's on Memorial Day that they hold that particular interment. I think it might be, but in my district, I'm part of District 13. and the Tri-District 13, 14, 15, which is part of Tacoma, Washington, and that's southern, South King County and Western Pierce County. I don't know how many years it's been now. Gets together and they call it the new Masonic Cemetery in Tacoma, but it's really the old one. It's funny how they name the new one, the old one, the new one. Anyway, every year they have an interment there, and they have a dedicated area that's for Masons, and they open the lid, and it's a huge deal. It's actually in the ground. They lift the lid off with equipment, heavy equipment, and they have a ceremony, and people from all over the area come and watch and be part of that. And then they intern the aprons that people that don't know what to do with them, lodges don't know what to do with them, anywhere they can bring them down there and turn them. And now with the Washington Masonic Library Museum, the Library Museum also interns some of them there, the standard white ones that aren't indoor and adorned, or some of them they don't keep in their collection. They'll intern them.
I think that's pretty cool. Good idea to remember some people and let them have a ceremony for that. I think that's a nice touch.
They're actually part of this year's Grand Lodge resolutions is formalizing that ceremony for the apron and turls. I'm interested to see where that goes.
I haven't looked. Is it just going to be a recommendation? It's not going to be actually part of the standard work, right? It's just a recommended work. I
think it's part of the standard work, but I'm not sure. I'd have to double check.
Because that's a significant. It's like a 90% pass to get it. Well, I guess if it's a carryover, it doesn't have to be. Sorry, that's an inside joke. They're trying to change our. They're trying to change our rules. If you can't get it past 90%, well, then wait a year, and then you only have to get 70% to pass. But that's not to get it part of the standard work has to be 90% pass, which is very difficult. I actually wrote a past master's apron lecture to when you're handing off the past master's apron. It always kind of made me upset when you'd have the past master up there, or they would say, "Hey, Joe, come up here," or just something so irreverent. And they maybe didn't even take it out of the box yet, right? They certainly haven't sized it. It's still in the plastic. It's like, here's your apron, get off the stage or get off the east or whatever. And I thought, this is silly. And so I wrote a past master's apron ceremony, and I was going to get it to be part of the standard work, like a funeral or like one of the other installation, one of the other, and then I was given wise counsel that 90% is a pretty steep hill to climb, and so it'll be a recommended work, kind of like our table lodge is a recommended work.
Hey, you should share that piece with me, and maybe I'll use it in one of my education pieces. It's different because here we don't. When you get installed as master, you get your worshipful master's apron, which is to follow your past master's apron, right? We don't get another one. We get a past master's jewel. Right?
And there is ritual in our installation for installing the immediate past master.
Right? Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes. And it's really actually quite poignant, because it says, for some officers get elected, some officers get appointed. And the gist of the immediate past master is, you spend a year in this chair. This isn't something we're giving you. You've earned this right. So it's actually quite nice.
Yeah. This is your chair by right. It can't be given to you, right? And so it's a really cool piece, actually.
I'll trade you rituals. You send me that one, I'll send you the one I wrote.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it's not. No, it's not ritual. It's our installation ceremony.
Oh, true. Right. Yes, exactly. But is it in your standard workbook though? Do you have it's part of your standard.
When you say standard work, you mean our constitution and regulations.
Yeah. It's actually not. It's in our book of ceremony.
Yeah, it's in our book of ceremony. So it's separate from our constitution and regulations.
Correct.
So you're okay. This is a whole other.
Our book of ceremonies.
we deviated from aprons, but
our installations are in the book of ceremonies. They're not in our regular ritual.
Yeah.
So your ritual is actually printed in your Constitution.
No, our ritual is printed in our ritual books. So we have like basically, so the documents are, we have a ritual book. We have our Constitution.
You have your Constitution first, right?
Okay. Well, no, I'm not sure which came first, chicken or egg. But yeah, we have our ritual, we have our Constitution and regulations, and we have our book of ceremonies, which are 3 different documents.
So does your Constitution reference either of those or both of those books?
It will both. Well, our Constitution sets out which are the approved rituals that a lodge can practice, because there's 4 of them up here in British Columbia. So yeah,
so that's your ritual. That's your ritual book.
Yeah,
and then it talks about the book of ceremonies as well.
I'd have to double check, but I think that may reference the book of ceremonies.
Ours does not,
doesn't it? I don't know. I'd have to go through there may be a reference in there, but it's not like it says that it has to, like, is that because you're talking about like we have to use yeah,
because like in our
a minute, I'll look it up.
In our code, which is your Constitution, it says you will perform the standard work. There is one standard work, and you'll perform no other. And so our standard work is what you would call the book of ritual. But in the book of ritual, we also have in the back in the addenda, but it's still part of the book. It's not separate. It's part of it, is our installation ceremony and funeral ceremony and a couple other ceremonies that are in there. And so since they're part of the printed standard work, you can't deviate from them. So if you're in the middle of installation, you can't just stop and do whatever you want to do. You have to follow it and complete it because it's in the standard work. But it's interesting calling it a book of ceremonies. That maybe we should start one of those, because we have at least a table lodge that is approved by our Grand Lodge. It was approved one year back in the 80s, I think, as a standard and approved usage by the lodges, but it's not part of the standard work or the ritual book.
Right. And yes, our book of ceremonies is what was the word we were using?
Referenced
in our Constitution and regulations. There is actually a section on the book of ceremonies.
Interesting. So technically your book of ceremonies would be we would call it codified, or
it's codified, but it's not technically it's not ritual, because we have it in the book in the Constitution and regulations. It lists the standard ritual of the craft, and it lists the book of ceremonies as different sections.
So it's not necessarily a codified, a required element.
Oh, it's required. Like trust me, you try and deviate from the book of ceremonies. Seriously, don't. No, bad boy. Although it's interesting, if we've gone totally off tangent here.
It was about aprons.
It was about it, but now we've got up here. They introduced an open installation ceremony a few years back to be done, and I haven't seen it. Are your installations open?
They can be, yes.
Oh, okay.
We have the option for a closed ceremony or an open ceremony.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah, there was an attempt at it here, but it has not been accepted.
And our code, the way we go into a soft, I don't know how to describe it, a public status, the way we go into a public status was changed to allow for open installations. We call it off session. And if you read our Constitution, the way it describes the off session is to only bring in a non-Mason without having to close the great lights. Otherwise, you have to close the great lights. So if you obviously close lodge, you have to close great lights. If you go to refreshment, you have to close great lights. But in an off session, you don't have to do that. So it allows you to keep it open. So that's what we use to allow the public to come in for public ceremony, public installations.
For those who are just joining us, we've diverged again.
Yeah, don't let the kids play when the conductor goes away. We're not talking about aprons anymore, man.
We've diverged. So, but this is actually a good way to get back. So, because we were talking about how you guys mentioned in the previous episode that although your officer aprons and your Grand Lodge aprons are codified in your standard work, but the Master Mason's apron isn't. So I find that interesting that you would go through all that effort to codify everyone's apron, but a standard Master Mason's apron. And is it because it's in the ritual? No one can hear you shaking your head, Matt.
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. That's
Okay.
actually a good question. That would be a logical place for it to be, but no.
Well, but the apron is mentioned in your ritual.
Right. Well, in each of the degrees, there's a very brief bit, except the first degree has a couple of paragraphs about, here's your apron.
You know,
It is yours.
great. We've had it forever. Older than this,
Birth around
better than
normal life.
that.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give the specifics about it, other than being a lambskin or white leather apron.
Well, no, I know, but I'm thinking that might be why that no one's ever decided to codify it. Is it's in ritual, and you know
Nope.
there shall be no amendments to
Am I
ritual.
forgetting something?
What? Huh?
I was just asking David if I was forgetting something glaringly obvious.
I don't think so either. I always assumed or thought that there was something in there about the regular apron, but again, I think it's just assumed because of what's the officer's aprons are indicated. And so I think we assume that you can't do anything that's different than the officer. What's interesting to me, though, is that since we're talking about aprons a little bit, the usage of them, when should you or shouldn't you wear them? Is there any requirement? If you wanted to wear your white leather apron, in our case, the white leather apron as a Master Mason or your Master Mason's apron forever, and not wear your past master's apron or not wear the officer apron or not past deputy's apron, could you do that?
Technically, no, because a Master Mason's apron, the one with the blue trim and everything, is what is defined by our regulation and constitution.
As a Master Mason.
As a Master Mason's apron.
So you're installed as the junior warden.
We don't have officers' aprons here, or at least in any
Yeah.
lodge that I've belonged to, we don't have officers' aprons. Do you guys have officers' aprons with the officers' badges?
Yeah.
on them?
We do.
No, I meant Steve. Sorry, I'm pointing down at Stephen.
Yes, in Prince Charles Lodge, we have a junior warden's apron and a senior warden's apron. And then, of course, the worshipful master is the past master's apron.
Yeah, but sorry, hold on. David and Matt's lodges, all your officers' aprons have badges on them, don't they?
Yeah, we have a full complement of 13 of them.
So that's what they're asking is like, so theoretically, as a past master, I can wear my Master Mason's apron if I feel like it.
Right.
I don't have to wear my past master's apron. And if for some reason they decide to offer me a Grand Lodge office, I don't necessarily have to wear a past Grand Lodge officer apron either. But then up here, we also have jewels for the past officer jewels that we wear. Do you wear them down there?
No.
So not only do I have a past master's apron, I have a past master's jewel that I can wear with my past master's apron in case you don't notice that I'm a past master.
Right. Now,
or barking from the sidelines.
Yeah.
Is that one actually yours, or did they pass that down to you from someone else?
The jewel is mine. No. Well, actually, because once again, up here, when a Mason passes away, his past master's jewel will be returned to the lodge as well.
mm-hmm.
But they took pity on me and bought me a new past master's jewel, because I actually served as master of the lodge for longer than longer than a year, because it took us that long to close the lodge. But yeah, so I do have my own past master's. I don't wear jewels when I go to lodge. I find it ruins the line of my suit jacket. But
so is, out of curiosity, is not to be snobby about this, but when you say jewel, is it like whatever 14 karat gold, masterfully crafted? What's that?
It's gold colored. Here, hold on a second. I will show you what it looks like.
Mine is actually gold. Right. I have one that was passed down from previous ones that were returned. And that was another interesting, when I went through Scottish Rite as the thrice peacing Grand Master, I was given the option to take a recycled past thrice peacing jewel or get a new one. And the old one, or pardon me, the new ones, they were very pretty and everything. It looked very similar. And the inscription was on the reverse of it, right? And but the one that I got the option to take, it had a flap on the back of it, and it opened up. You know how like those charms where you get the opening up and there's a picture of mom and dad in there, right? Well, it was kind of like you open it up, and on the one side is the inscription of who, when, and where, and the dates that it was handed out, right? So it's kind of cool that way. Actually, I like that.
So sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so this actually is like, I have actually, those are because I also have a Lewis jewel because I'm the son of a Mason. Although this is wrong because the jewels should be like the past masters should actually be closer to the jacket line than the Lewis jewel, but that's beside the point. So yeah, this is a past masters jewel up here in BC. And then you'll get guys that have got like their past Grand Lodge officer jewels and their 50-year jewels. And
can you zoom in on the jewel itself?
And there's some that
that's what
some lodges get more decorative, like that blue section will have like a picture or something.
Isn't that that's the 47? That's the 47 problem.
That's Euclid's 47th proposition.
Yeah.
What I was curious about, since you don't have a separate officer's apron for like stewards and deacons.
No, they just wear a collar with the jewel of their badge of their office.
See, part of our installation ritual, it says that, of course, the apron is the badge of your office, and that nobody else can wear it, basically. So if you're installed as a senior deacon, let's say you have a senior deacon's jewel and you have a senior deacon's apron, and then if you pro tem one night for senior warden, you change out the jewel for the senior warden, but you don't change out the apron because that apron belongs to you. But if anybody else pro tems as a senior deacon, they don't get to wear my apron because the apron belongs to me. They can wear my jewel, but not my apron.
We have up here.
Matt's got an acquisitive look.
Well, no, up here, we have the collars. We have collars. When I say collars, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, jewel and collar. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a collar with the jewel on it.
Yeah.
So that when you're installed as your office, you're given to it. And there are brothers up here who, if they're sitting in a chair because the officer can't be there, who won't. Some people actually, like, I just put the collar on because, well, it just makes life easier. But there are some brothers who actually take offense to that because I've not been installed as that officer. So it's similar to your aprons, but we don't have so. But I find that interesting that you guys, because you have all officer aprons, that's your apron. And so do you take it home with you?
No, it stays at the lodge
hall. But so if someone's sitting in is filling in for you, they don't put that apron on.
They don't put the apron on, and you're kind of, it's a kind of an assumption. And Matt's shaking his head in controversy, but I'll be curious to see what he has to say. But at least in our lodge and in several lodges that I know of, that you're supposed to wear it, right? So even if you're a past master, past grandmaster, whatever you are, if you are an officer of the lodge, you wear that apron of that station, except on past master's night, then we all wear our past master's apron. Or in some lodges, and I was getting to it, in some lodges, when they're doing degrees, especially Master Mason degree, they will all wear white aprons, even the officers.
But now, Jerry, you're a past master, so you've been installed into every position, so nobody could give you any grief about wearing any collar.
Well, but the thing is that I haven't been although I'm a past master, I actually haven't been installed into every chair because I haven't done every chair. Because that's what happens when you get a young guy. You get on the train and you get pushed all the way to the east.
Railroad, yep.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, I'm not installed as that officer for that year. Because remember, in our installation, it's all about you've been installed until someone else gets installed in your stead.
Right.
So there is, I mean, theoretically they are correct in that you shouldn't wear the collar of that office because I've not been installed. But more people will complain if you're not wearing the collar than the people who will complain if you are wearing the collar.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah. I know anytime they ask me to sit in anybody's chair for, when I go visiting, I just wear the collar because that's the collar for that position for the night. Right. So, but yeah, if anybody ever wanted to complain, they could take the collar and they could probably take the job for the night too. Right. And I think that's probably why nobody really says anything, even if they're not happy, right? Because otherwise you probably won't fill into that job, right? If somebody's going to complain,
And on the subject of complaining Masons, unless anyone has anything else to wrap up in this episode, I think we're running a little low on time. So anybody have anything else they want to get off their lap? I guess
off our lap. Well, I think we've covered aprons as much as we can.
Although I think I'm going to ask David, where just real quick, David, where in the ritual does it say that you get the apron of your office?
And then on the next episode.
I don't remember that from the ritual, but I've been wrong before. Anyway, so on that note, thank you all for listening to the Working Tools podcast. On behalf of Jarrod and Stephen and David and myself, I thank you all for listening, and thank you to those people who support the show through Patreon or on Anchor FM and that. Please leave some comments. We love to make fun of David and tell him he's wrong, and so let's get some more people in on that action. But seriously, we love to hold conversations about these topics. That's why we get on here and yammer about it every week. So thank you all very much, and I look forward to hearing from you on the Working Tools podcast. Goodbye.